All right. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. You are live and direct with your Akazaki Yahoo. I'm giving all praises, honor, and great esteem unto the Most High Power, Yahuwah, Bahashem, Yahushua, Hamashiach, and to the 12 tribes of Israel who are scattered to the four quarters of the earth. I say, Shalom, Wa, Baruch, that is peace and blessings. And I cannot wait to the day that the Most High brings us back together, and we are once again 12 tribes, one family, one nation, under the Most High Power, under one covenant, and back in our own land with a heart of flesh and no more a heart of stone. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
I'm joined this afternoon by my most esteemed Akinanaya. Shabbat shalom, Aki.
Shabbat shalom, Aki. Shabbat shalom, Yasharal. All praises to the Most High for all that he's done, all that he's doing, and all that he will do. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Yes, indeed. Praises to the Abba. We've been a long way. We got another way to go. We don't know how long we got, but we know that the promises are going to be kept because the Most High said it, and he's not a man that he should lie. So we put our trust, our faith, and all our belief in everything that he has taught us through his prophets and his teachings, his scriptures, I should say. All praises. So we are back again for another video review. We have another interesting video to cover from our good brothers over at Black Journals. Shout out to Black Journals. They do a lot of great work. This particular video we're going to get into, and we're going to talk about it. So let's get to it and get through it. All praises to the Abba. Here we go.
For centuries, Africa has been portrayed as an extremely primitive land, awaiting the enlightening influence of Western civilization, with religion merely introduced by whites to blacks. But what if this is a colossal distortion of history? What if the cradle of civilization and the birthplace of monotheism were not the fertile crescents of the East, but the verdant heart of Africa? Join us today.
Now it's ironic because they put this picture up right here, and this is a picture of the Romans sacking Jerusalem, carrying away our stuff. You see, they got the menorah, and I've never known what this was right here, but they're stealing our stuff. That's what they're doing, and this happened after 70 when they came and killed our people and took down our homeland and chased us off, and we fled to the mountain. Yeah, we are the descendants of those that fled and made it out. And as of later, we were rounded up in West Africa, some of us out of Congo and various other places, and put on those slave ships. So let's continue.
As we challenge the accepted chronology and unearth suppressed knowledge, the Black presence in the Bible is undeniable, stretching from its very beginning to the present day. The African was not a heathen before the arrival of Arabs or Europeans.
All right, there we go. First place here. He said the African was not a heathen before the Arabs and the Europeans showed up. So that statement is false. The African is a heathen and still is a heathen, was a heathen then, still is a heathen today. And the Arabs and the Europeans are heathens as well, because everybody who's not scripture keeping, set apart believing, waiting on Mashiach to return Israelite is a heathen. That's just what it is. And if you call it anything else, you have the right to do that, but that don't make it right. That don't make it correct. Because the people who are the set apart people are the people that's listed in the book. And to be that people, because even some of them were called heathens when they went off and did things that were unbecoming of an Israelite. So that's what we're going to get into here. You got anything on that, Doc?
All right.
Okay, let's continue.
Contrary to popular belief, the concept of monotheism actually originated in Africa, and Black people were its earliest adherents. For instance, the Star of David, a symbol intrinsically linked to Judaism, has historical roots that extend far beyond its modern connotations, pointing towards the Black civilization of ancient Egypt. Specifically, it is etched onto a temple at Elephantine, a region bordering what was once North Sudan. This design, featuring two interlocking triangles, represents a profound concept: the unification of the celestial and terrestrial realms. It mirrors the core African philosophy of Ma'at, which posits a harmonious correspondence between heaven and earth. While its connection to Jewish communities deepened during the Middle Ages, the Star of David gained widespread recognition as a Jewish emblem in the 19th century. This coincided with the rise of Jewish nationalism and the Zionist movement, which solidified its status as a powerful symbol for Jewish identity and aspirations.
All right. So we're talking now about the that six-pointed star. Now, for those of you who know us, myself, Kenaniah, we represent the army of Yah, the army of Israel, the army of the Most High, and we also represent unity, unification of the nation of Israel. All 12 tribes to be unified under Mashiach, under the Messiah. So we have some brothers who will teach you that the Most High has a favorite flower, which is the lily, and the lily grows in what are those things that the bulbs, I believe it's called, the
Okay.
the actual flowers, the actual leaves, I guess so you call it. I don't know what you call it. Anyhow, it grows in 6 parts, in 6 ways like that. And they say that that's where that comes from. And so that's why they adorn it. And I get it. I get that. And I've seen one brother wear the lily on his shirt, and it looks similar to that. And I get it. I get that. I personally do not support the 6-pointed star as the Star of David, as the Star of Solomon, as any type of star. I don't deal with any stars, not a 6-point, not a 4-point, not a 5-point. I've even seen brothers with 7-point stars. And I thought, what is that? But I don't deal with any of that. He's talking about that went back to ancient Egypt. I don't doubt it, because ancient Egypt served a plethora of wickedness, and it did a lot of wicked things. Matter of fact, this would be a good place. Let's go to the book of Leviticus chapter 18. Let me jump over here right quick. I believe that's what I'm looking for. All right. It's the book of Leviticus chapter number 18. I'm starting at verse 1. It says, And Yahuwah spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am Yahuwah, your power. After the doings of the land of Mizraim of Egypt, where you dwell, shall you not do. And after the doings of the land of Canaan, where I bring you, shall you not do. Neither shall you walk in their ordinances. You shall do my judgments and keep mine ordinances to walk therein. I am Yahuwah, your power. You shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live by them. I am Yahuwah. So that's the instruction that we were given. To not do the ways of the people of Mizraim, of Egypt, and not do the ways of the people of Canaan, the Canaanites, where we were going to take their land for our possession. These were not things that we were instructed not to do. All right, so let's get back to the video. And I wanted to highlight that point since he was bringing that out. So here we go.
Zionism is an ethno-cultural nationalist movement that emerged in Europe in the late 19th century and aimed for the establishment of a Jewish state through the colonization of a land outside of Europe. Although the Star of David had been a feature of Jewish symbolism for centuries, its prominence rose dramatically during the Zionist era. Adopted as a powerful emblem of Jewish unity and national identity, it culminated in its placement on the flag of Israel in 1948, cementing its iconic status worldwide. Often regarded as the progenitor of the world's major monotheistic faiths, Judaism differs from Christianity and Islam in its less active approach to spreading its beliefs. But although quite popular, many do not know or simply cannot believe that similar practices were already present in ancient African civilizations way back. Ancient Egyptians revered a single supreme being called Iman, also known as Amen. This civilization practiced circumcision and considered their written language a divine script, a reflection of the Creator's will. Now, if you think about it, who were the original Semites and where did the term originally come from?
All right, here we go. Getting deeper. We're getting deeper. He asked, who were the original Shemites and where did they come from? So to understand that question or answer that question, we have to go to the Table of Nations, which we just read here a few weeks ago. So to understand this, you have to understand that the earth was destroyed by a flood. The Most High flooded the entire earth and killed everybody in the earth, save Noah, his 3 sons, and all of their wives. So Noah had a wife, and each of his 3 sons had a wives. So that's 8 total people who made it from that side of the flood to this side of the flood. And with these people, he repopulated the earth. In fact, if we come to the end of chapter 9, we can see I'm wrong about the end of chapter 9. It might be the end of chapter 10. But what we want is near the beginning into the middle of chapter 10. So let's start from the beginning here. This is the book of Genesis, or Bereshit, chapter 10 and verse 1. It says, now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood. Now we're going to skip Japheth because that's not who the conversation is about. And we're going to go down to Ham. Right here in verse 6. It says, and the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mizraim, and Put, and Canaan. These are the sons of Ham here. These are his direct sons. Now, through them, they had various children and so on and so forth. Because we're not trying to get into all that, we're going to skip forward into understanding the Shemites. Verse 21. It says, unto Shem also the father of all the children of Eber. Eber is an important name that we're going to talk about as we continue through this video. The brother of Japheth, the elder, even to him were children born. So Japheth also had children, not Japheth, Shem also had children. And that's really who this book is about, the children of Japheth, because there was one people in this children of Japheth that was chosen by the Most High to be his people, his particular people. So he asked the question, where did the Shemites come from? Well, the Shemites came from Abram, Ephraim, Slakim. The Shemites came from Noah, and it lists them right here in Bereshit chapter 10, starting at verse 21. Let's continue here. It says, the children of Shem, Elam, and Ashur, and Arphaxad, and Lud, and Aram. So those were Shem's direct children that he had. These were the Shemites. These were the Shemites come from. Elam, Ashur, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. All right. So let's get back to the video, and hope that better helps understand what he's talking about. So let's continue.
Were Africans really pagans before the rise of Abrahamic faiths?
Yes, Africans were absolutely pagans and still are. Let's continue.
Paganism refers to a broad range of religious beliefs and practices that existed before the rise of Abrahamic religions like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. These religions are typically polytheistic, meaning they worship multiple gods and goddesses, and animistic, believing that natural objects, places, and creatures possess spiritual essence. Pagan religions often have a strong connection to nature, with rituals and deities that reflect the natural world, such as the sun, moon, earth, and various animals. These traditions were common in many cultures around the world before the spread of monotheistic religions. Meanwhile, unlike paganism, revealed religions are believed to come directly from a divine source. Judaism is often seen as one of the first revealed religions, claiming a direct link to God from the beginning of time. This sets Judaism apart as the religion of a chosen people, tasked with sharing God's message. This special status is central to Judaism and unfolds in three main stages: the covenant with Abraham, marked by circumcision, the giving of the law through Moses, and ongoing divine guidance through prophets. Evidence suggests that ideas like monotheism and practices like circumcision existed in Africa way before Judaism. Cheikh Anta Diop's Nations Negres et Culture suggests that monotheistic concepts existed in Egypt and Sudan before Judaism. The African deity Iman, often depicted in various forms, including male and androgynous representations, supports the idea of a single supreme being, rather than a pantheon of gods typical of polytheistic beliefs.
All right. So he said quite a bit right there, but what I wanted to hone in on is the idea that somehow the Hamitic tribes or the Hamitic nations would have a single deity that they would deal with. And here's the thing: whether you have a single deity or whether you have a deity for every day of the week or every day of the month or every day of the year, it doesn't matter. You're not a servant of the Most High Power, the power of Israel, or the power of the who made the heavens and the earth. And he tells us in the scripture who his people are. If you're not a servant of that particular power, regardless of who you serve, by whatever name, by who else is with that power, whatever the case, or whoever is with that deity, or whatever the case, then you are a pagan. You are serving idols. You are an idolater. If you believe that you're dealing with some power that's a fallen angel, that is whatever it is, whatever form, whatever belief you have, and you're not serving the power of Israel, then you are dealing with an idol, and my power is going to destroy you. That's just what it is. And I take no pity on you. It is what it is. You know, if the Most High wanted you to be spared, he would have came to your ancestors and you would be serving him with us. But that wasn't the case. In fact, the one time in the text when we see that it appears to be a union between an African nation and white African village and the Israelites, we find that the Israelites was setting them up and destroyed them. I destroyed every one of them. So You know, that's what it is. You got anything on that?
No lie.
All right, Con, let's continue.
Now, if that is the case, why do people depict most ancient Black civilizations in Africa and Egypt as polytheistic? One theory suggests that the portrayal of ancient Egypt as polytheistic might be a Western and Semitic bias to align with Abrahamic narratives. Nevertheless, circumcision, a practice later incorporated into Abrahamic traditions, dates back to ancient Egypt, long before the arrival of the Semites.
All right, let's talk about the idols of Egypt real quick. So in the Exodus, I believe it's chapter 11. I might be mistaken about that. I mean, it might be chapter 9. Let me just see if that's what I'm looking for here. And Yahuwah said unto, this is chapter 9, verse 1. I'm not for certain if this is what I'm looking for. What it said. Where's the part where Abraham said, well, not Abraham, my bad, where the Most High told Moshe that he would get his on the gods of Egypt?
You can't. I believe that is Shemot 2, isn't it?
Is it chapter 2?
I believe so.
Okay.
See, the 2 or 3 is early. It's early in Shemot.
Early? Okay.
Oh, Slack, you know, Exodus, Shemot 3.
Chapter 3. Okay, let's go to 3.
Yeah.
Okay. And Moses Midian, and as it appeared in the flame and destroyed hither, had defeated in the place, and it was afflicted upon and came. Yep, you're right. And the hands of the Mizraim will bring out and land at large milk and honey and placing you besides. Okay. Israel, Egypt, and certain to you and taken, and the Most High, behold, the children of Israel say unto them, I look over it. I go over it. I'm at 10.
Nah, I'm in 21 and I still haven't came across it yet.
That's at the end. Favor the sight of magicians and every woman, jewels and gold, and take it stretch out the hand of Egypt to the midst. I will give me let me find it. Let me look it up right quick. Hold on.
Hey, I think it might be the next chapter.
Okay, let's jump over there right quick. Giving us this is I did watch this earlier, but I should have had all this prepared, but I did not. He said, I will get me he said, I will get me glory. Is it was
So,
it glory?
Salakiak, and I'm wrong. I got you looking in the wrong spot. Shemot 12, verse 12.
12 and 12. Okay. I was thinking 9. So go sweat. Fill out Rabbi. Let's go to 12. Okay, kind. All right. So here we go. To nothing remain till the morning, and thus shall you say, lions guarded with shoes on your feet. Verse 12. This is the book of Shemot or Exodus, chapter number 12 and verse number 12. It says, for I will pass through the land of Mizraim or Egypt this night, and I will smite all the firstborn in the land of Mizraim, both man and beast, and against the deities of Mizraim I will execute judgment. I am Yahuwah. So the power of Israel, who is establishing himself, reestablishing himself, I should say, with Israel, it's come to us by our assigned leader, who he has assigned, Moses, and is telling him that Uh, he's going to deal with. He's going to set the children of Israel free, bring us into a land that he meant for us all along, that he promised to our fathers, and that he was not only going to do all of that, but he was also going to get judgment. He was going to execute judgment. He says that I will execute judgment against the idols or the deities of Mizraim, and I will execute his judgment. Now, one of my elders did a class. I can't remember what the name of it was. I think it may have been. I gotta find it, but we're gonna have to review that class. He goes through all of these judgments of Mizraim, and he talks about the deity that is attached to that judgment, that is attached, who they believe would protect them from this, and that's why he used these specific players were attacking these specific deities, and it's a cold lesson. It's made me think about it, so we're gonna have to bring that one out.
Yeah, indeed. And I don't know if we've seen the same lesson, but I saw a lesson on it as well. And each one of these plagues was a judgment on these deities' worship. In Mizraim, they worship cows, they worship frog, or they had a deity that was like a cow. They had a deity that was like a frog. You know what I mean? Like they had all of these deities. I want to say there was a deity of flies. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. And that was an absolute situation that was dealt with. So that's going to be interesting to tie that in. So let's continue here. He left off at the Shemites. Let's continue here. Am I back up? Yeah, I'm back up. Here we go.
The tomb of Ankh-Mahor provides evidence of this, dating back to around 2345 BCE. While hieroglyph is a Greek term meaning sacred writing, the Egyptians called these symbols Medu, or words of God. This also shows a belief in divine communication predating Judaism. In African traditions, Iman communicates indirectly through nature. Understanding these messages required a scientific approach, reflected in the natural elements incorporated into hieroglyphs. At this point, it's really safe to say that the seeds of monotheism were sown long before Abraham. Evidence of belief in a singular, omnipotent deity can be traced back to ancient Egyptian texts, like the Pyramid of Unas. Judaism, however, emerged alongside Semitic cultures. With this, we go back to our previous question. Who were the original Semites, and where did the term originally come from?
So we covered the original Shemites and where the term came from. The Shemites came from the man Shem. To be Shemitic, to be a Shemite means that you are born of the three sons of Noah to the line of Shem. We read who his sons were, and that's who they are. So that was from the beginning to now. That was, well, I shouldn't say from the beginning. This was post-flood to now, because with Noah's family, he's repopulated the entire earth. So we're far removed from even though they were brothers, Noah and Ham and Japheth, we're far removed from that, because that's been thousands of years ago. So let's continue.
The term Semitic comes from Shem, a biblical figure believed to be the ancestor of various Semites, such as the Hebrews, Arabs, and related groups. Western scholars coined these terms based on biblical accounts to classify peoples primarily from Mesopotamia or present-day Iraq, linking their mythical heritage to Abraham. The earliest Semitic groups formed from the blend of Sumerians, early settlers of Mesopotamia with darker skin, and nomadic warlike tribes from northern Eurasia.
Yeah, I don't like how you say mythical on that. I don't appreciate that, because there's no mythical. It's just reality. We are really these people, and I don't like that. So let's continue.
So who were these established communities of dark-skinned people with deep African cultural roots? These communities included the Persian archers, whose ancestry links back to the Elamites, the earliest civilizers of Iran. An example of a Persian archer is depicted in the Louvre Museum. The Sumerians, also known as Zalmat Gagadu, or people of black heads. Additionally, the Canaanites, the Phoenicians, and the ancient people of Kemet, now commonly called Egyptians, are renowned as foundational civilizations. A typical Egyptian depiction can be seen in the tomb of Ramesses III, with the authentic African name Ramu Heyunu, dating back to 1200 BCE.
All right. So I think where it's the conversation is going is he's under the impression that black people are Hamites. All black people are Hamites. Well, not true. A lot of black people are Hamites, but there are certain of us that are not. Shem was also a black person. The world didn't start off as Caucasians and eventually got darker. The world started off as black people, so-called black people. And eventually some of the people got lighter. So I'm thinking that the ideology here is that everybody was white and then some people went to Africa and got dark. And that was, I don't know, it's all kind of, I don't know, what you think?
I see why you say that, and that's kind of how he's lining this up. But we know that cradle of civilization, well, not civilization, but humankind goes back to Akebulon. The first human being, Homo sapien. The bones remains found in East Akebulon, which is really the Garden of Eden. You know what I mean? Like we want to be technical about it, but this was what's the name of Eve? What's the other name for the Hebrew name for Eve?
Hawa.
Hawa was a sister. Well, I will say Hawa is a woman of color. I'll say that.
Yeah. I mean, consider Adam was from the dust of the ground. So, in fact, this would have been a darkly hued man. This man would have been dark in complexion, coming from the ground, coming from the dust of the ground. So,
Well, I believe Adam is described as kind of like Esau, kind of like Dawid, I believe.
Like ready?
I believe so. I believe Adam, I believe even that name, I believe is similar or has similitude to Ruddy.
Okay.
Let me see if I can.
I was under the impression that it basically meant man.
Okay, I'm looking for, there we are right there. So I've got Adam comes from Hebrew word 120. And you're right, mankind. Okay, but if you look at if you keep on scrolling down, for the Strong's definition of Adam, one of the definitions is ruddy.
Oh,
so
okay.
like go to Genesis, Bereshit 3:9. So Bereshit chapter 3 and verse 9.
You want it on the concordance or?
Yeah, well, if you could pull up the blue letter, because I want to show you that that it's that one of those definitions is indeed ruddy.
Okay, kind. Yeah, we might have not dug into that one as deep. 3 and 9. All right. And we get to the Strongs 120. And first man.
So yeah, Strong's definition. Yeah, Strong's definition, ruddy. Now go down with Strong's. Yeah.
I see it right here. Ruddy, human, a human being, individual made. Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize that. I was under the ideology that Adam would have been more, definitely not along those lines. I was thinking he'd be more about more dark complected.
Yeah, I know the dirt, like in Georgia, is a they call it what, red clay.
Yeah.
So in my mind, that's what I'm picturing when I think about that dirt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because that red clay is supposed to be real good soil. So imagine the earth in Eden. It's gonna be even better.
Yeah. Lots of good stuff from that. Yeah. That makes sense. And good. Indeed. Indeed. All praises. All right. Well, let's continue here. Forgot where he left off, but let's see what he's talking about here.
From this rich blend of cultures emerged the Akkadians, led by Sargon of Akkad, whose empire rose around 2300 BCE, marking the beginning of recorded Semitic history. This era unfolded approximately 3 centuries after the construction of the Great Pyramids. Nomadic by nature, these early Semitic populations dispersed across the Near East. The Fertile Crescent, spanning Mesopotamia to Egypt, became a central area for Semitic migrations and settlements. This region is steeped in historical and biblical stories. The Bible portrays Abraham as a nomadic Semitic who migrated from Mesopotamia to Canaan. However, the Semitic peoples were a diverse group with varying origins and experiences. Their interactions with ancient civilizations in Sumer, Canaan, and Egypt, regions heavily influenced by African cultures, cannot be overlooked.
See, if you notice the depiction here, he's using some of these incorrect diagrams where they depict them as like Caucasian looking people, and that's what make me think that that's what his ideal is that Semitic people are somehow light skinned, light complected people, and we're not. The scripture called us the Yahudim. The scripture says that we're black unto the ground. So you got various of dirt, but they're all brown. They're all dark brown, light brown, various shades of brown, but they're all brown. And these pictures that he's putting up are not that. So that's what made me think that that's where he was going with that. So I think that's accurate too. So they're like, this cat got a dog. They're like, this dude got a dog on this. Let me go to this.
The Bible describes.
Yeah, he got a dog. These are Caucasian people through and through. Like, no, these are not Semitic people. And here's the crazy thing. Some brothers be like, yeah, these are Semitic people. They're not Israelites, but they're Semitic. Like, no. No, these are Japhetic people. These are Japheth people. But let's continue.
Semitic migrations into Canaan, a land already inhabited by indigenous Black Canaanites with deep roots in Egypt. While some Semitic nomads settled in Canaan, others migrated to Egypt, a major African power center of the time. The ancient Near East, influenced heavily by Egypt, was home to interactions between Africans and Semitic newcomers. Egyptian texts often grouped various Semitic peoples under the term Asians, a broad classification rather than a specific ethnic label. The term Asia itself originates from an ancient Egyptian word meaning east, indicating the geographical origin of these Semitic groups. These Eastern groups, or Asians, were known by different names such as Amu, Shasu, Heakasut, and Habiru. The Egyptians were familiar with these groups, including their reputation as nomadic raiders who plagued the region. Egypt often intervened to counter their activities, particularly in Canaan. Interestingly, early Semitic groups were primarily polytheistic. Their introduction to monotheism often occurred through interactions with African communities like the Canaanites and Egyptians. A notable example is Melchizedek, a Canaanite king and priest of the Most High God, who welcomed Abram, later Abraham, with bread and wine.
Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Whoa. Whoa.
Yeah, yeah. But technically he's accurate, because where was Melchizedek the king of?
He was the king of Salem.
Where was Salem at?
Salem is, now I may be wrong, and I can admit if I'm wrong, but my understanding of Salem was that it is in Shamayim, and it's going to come down from Shamayim. But let's jump to that account. About chapter, we just read it. What was it? Chapter?
I want to say
22-ish.
I don't think it's that late. I think it's 14.
14. Oh, my bad. I'm way off. My bad. All right.
14 and 18.
Okay, kind. Let's get it on the screen here. All right. So to get the context here, we're dealing with what happened. So what happened was, at the beginning of this chapter, there was a battle basically that took place, and these kings fought against each other. And one king came away victor, and he took a bunch of, well, not one king, it was actually, what was it? Was it three? I think three united, and they came away as the victor, and ended up taking a bunch of stuff, a bunch of possession, as well as they took Lot, Abraham's nephew. So we pick up here. We'll pick up here about chapter 11, or verse 11. Actually, verse 10. Let me just put it on the screen here. All right, verse 10. It says, and the vale of Sodom, or Sadim, was filled with slime pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled and fell there, and they would remain fled to the mountains. Verse 11. This might be too slow for me. And it took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all the victuals and went their way. So they took everything they had from there, and they went on their way. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and they departed. So they took Lot with them. Verse 13. And there came one that had escaped and told Abram, the Hebrew, or it would say the Hebrew, for he dwelled in the plains of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, the brother of Aner, and they were confederate with Abraham. So this cat was down with Abraham. So he came and told him, hey, with Abram, I'm sorry. Hey, they took Lot, your brother, your nephew. They took him. He gone. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants born in his house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan. So now he after them. All right, let's get to the get back to the chapter 14. That other way is too slow for me. Verse 15. And he divided himself against them and his servants by night. He smote them and pursued them to uh, Hoblah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. And he took the goods and brought again his brother Lot and his goods, and the women also, and the people. So he went in there and basically laid down the smack, and he took them all, brought them home, brought everything back. We're going to skip to verse 18 here because this is where we see Melchizedek. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he passed, and he was the priest of the Most High Power. Now, see, I think that this was a Canaanite priest. Then why the Most High wonder what the Canaanites did? Why did he order us to destroy the Canaanites? If this was
so I think it's Canaanite, meaning it's just in the land that Canaanites are dwelling in. We know that he doesn't have a beginning. He doesn't have a beginning. You know what I mean? So it wouldn't be totally accurate to say that he himself was a Canaanite.
Exactly.
But he was a king of a Canaanite city.
Okay. That I can say is acceptable. I was under the impression, now I may be being naive, but I was under the impression that this king of Salem would have came down, much like Hamashiach came down and visited him before he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, and had conversations with Abraham, and sent the other two to Lot to bring him out of that place. I was thinking that he came down for this very occasion, because it was by his hand, by his ability, that he was able to Abraham was able to do what he did against those kings and free his nephew and bring all those spoils back. So, which is why he told them, I don't want nothing from you. You're not the influence of me. You're not the power of me. My power gave me this ability to do this. So I was thinking that Melchizedek actually came down and brought forth the bread and wine. That's what I was thinking. Like, this was basically a Mashiach manifesting himself. And as we read further into the book, when he seen them coming, he recognizes them. Like, it didn't say it was Melchizedek, but he recognized them and ran them to greet him. And even Lot recognized him when they came. So I don't know. That's kind of how I took it, and I certainly wouldn't say he was definitely wouldn't say he was a Canaanite. I think that would be way left, and I think that's what he was alluding to if he didn't say it right out. But I think that's definitely what he was alluding to. A Canaanite king, not Canaanite, priest of the Most High Power. So, but let's get back to it. Continuing here, it's going to be way longer than I anticipated.
This suggests that the Canaanites, similar to their counterparts in the Nile Valley, practiced monotheism before Abram, who is often regarded as the first monotheist in Semitic traditions, arrived. Essentially, the Bible inadvertently indicates that monotheism was already present among African peoples when Abram came into their lands. The biblical accounts of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph reveal the cultural exchange between Semitic nomads and African civilizations, particularly the Canaanites and Egyptians. These narratives reveal how Semitic peoples adopted monotheistic beliefs and other cultural practices from these more advanced societies, showing the profound influence of African cultures on the development of Semitic religions and.
So before you take this picture away, this is what he's depicting as Semitic people here, I'm guessing. Okay. These are like native, like Indian people. These are not Semitic people. These are, I don't know what these people are. These are Mongoloids, I would venture to say. I don't know. I don't know who these people are, truthfully. They look like Mongoloids to me. That's why I said what I said. But I mean, this one here got a thing in his lip like he like he's Semitic, and Yeah, they got, I guess those would be feathers. And these are like Asian cats. These are not Shemitic people. That's these like a American Indian, possibly a $5 Indian. I don't know. I can't say with certainty, but I don't know. I don't know where he's getting this information from. But I'm not. It's ironic because I would think of these cats over here with black journals as children of Yehuda, much like us, part of the slave trade. And it was Yehuda that was trafficked in the slave trade. And yet, they lawyering for they're lawyering against their own people for people that wouldn't want you, wouldn't care anything about you. It doesn't make sense. That's not sensible. I don't. And maybe it's just lack of knowledge, or this is just what his understanding is, or whatever the case. This is how they found information that they found. If you want to learn about the children of Israel, the Israelites, the Yahudim, who you would refer to as Jews, that's not an accurate depiction, but Jews has to do with the people that's over there now. But if you want to learn about these things, you will find it in the scriptures. That's the only place you're really going to find the information that you're really looking for. Now, you can deal with archaeology, and but to understand the prophecies, understand what is written, who is written about, what it's talking about, you have to study the scriptures. Trying to go at it from somebody else's point of view, everybody else's point of view is going to be it's going to be theirs. So you really want to understand from the winning team, and the winning team is Israel. Simply put. So let's continue.
Customs. Initially, Hebrews referred to a small group including Abraham, Jacob, and their families, rather than a distinct people. Contrary to popular belief, these patriarchs and their kin were not enslaved in Egypt.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I don't know. Wow. I didn't expect that. Okay. So he talked about the Hebrews. So let's get a little bit of understanding about who the Hebrews are. We read it a little bit earlier. Let's go back to it and get a little bit deeper here. Bereshit, chapter number 10. We started at verse 21. Let's continue with that. Unto Shem also the father of the children of Eber, the brother of Japheth, the elder, even to him were children born. Oh, I lost Kenaniah. Slacky, I didn't realize I lost you.
Yeah. It got spinning and I just disconnected and I was like, man, let me join back in, but it was acting kind of funny when I was trying to get back in.
Oh, okay. Kind. Yeah. I don't know if you caught it. He said, matter of fact, let's go back to it real quick. He got something that got my goat a little bit.
Okay.
Let's go back to here. Okay, he said these patriarchs and their kin were not enslaved in Egypt. So there is, okay, now that I watched it again there is some truth to that. The patriarchs, our patriarchs, were not enslaved in Mizraim. In fact, Yosef, the next to the youngest son of Jacob, was the ruler, the governor of Egypt, of Mizraim. He was the governor.
God.
So his brothers coming in there and them flourishing. No, they were not enslaved. They were more than free because their brother was the man in charge. In fact, the pharaoh of the land said that only in the throne would he be greater than yourself. So the Most High devised the plan
Come.
to keep Joseph, to keep the children of Israel, the children of Jacob, safe during that time, and we ended up overstaying our welcome. And we should have went back to Canaan, but it went the way it went because that's why the Most High wanted it to go. So it'll be what it is. So, and then he talked about there was a small segment of people that were called Hebrews, and I was getting into the Hebrew. So, verse 21. Unto Shem also, the father of the children of Eber, the brother of Japhet, the elder, even to him were children born. The children of Shem, Elam, Ashur, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. And the children of Aram, Uz, Hud, Gether, and Mash. And Arphaxad begot Selah, and Selah begot Eber. And unto Eber were born two sons. The name of the one was Peleg. In his day was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Yoktan. And Yoktan had a whole bunch of children. We're going to skip down all of these and get back to right here. These are the sons of Shem after their families and their tongues and their lands and their nations. And the families of Noah after their generations and their nations by their nations divided the earth after the flood. So after the flood, the earth was respread by the children of Shem, or by the children of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. All right, Japheth. Skipping over to chapter 11, and it gets into the beginning part of how things were operating in the land at that time, and the threat of them being scattered and all of the wickedness that they were doing. And then it gets into verse 10, it gets into the generations of Shem. Now, if you notice in the last chapter, it talked about the sons of Eber, which were Arphaxad and not Arphaxad. I said that wrong. Peleg.
No, that's right.
No, it was Peleg and Yoktan. Now,
okay.
Peleg is the progenitor of the one that would become the father of Abram. That's where the line of Abram came from. So that's where we get into here, into verse number 9 here, or verse number 10. So we go down the list until we get to, Slacky, I'm wrong. I'm saying that wrong. So this is from Shem to Salah, verse 14. Salah was 30 years old and he begot Eber. Salah lived after he begot Eber 400 years and begot sons and daughters. And Eber lived 400 years and begot Peleg. Peleg is that line that Abraham followed. So that's why we follow Peleg and not Yoktan. Why are we not learning about the children of Yoktan? Because this is an Israelite book, and he's getting us to where the Israelites came from. That's what the point of this book is, and that's who you are, whether you know it or not. My brothers over at Black Journals. So, you're the same as us, and we're all part of the slave trade, or we're all the victims of the slave trade for our own evil and wickedness. So we have to accept that and deal with it. Calling ourselves Hamitic, it's not going to save us. Keeping the law, statutes, and the commandments of the Most High and the belief in the Messiah and Hamashiach, that will save us. The faith and the belief, not one or the other, both together. So you want to understand what's really going on, you need to understand, one, who you are, and two, what it is you meant to do. All right. We still appreciate the videos, but this one is, I know we critiquing pretty hard on this one. Let's continue.
The concept of a Hebrew people developed over time. While biblical narratives describe the Hebrews, historical evidence suggests the term Hebrew likely originated from Habiru or Apiru, derogatory terms for nomadic Semitic groups found in Egyptian and Canaanite texts.
Yeah, so Habiru I heard, and I think that's just the way some of the other people pronounced it. Maybe they had it, as they depicted it in a different manner. And in our text, it's depicted as Hebrew. And that's how we understood it. That's how we understand it now, today. Now, we weren't there at that time to say, yeah, this is definitely what it is. We don't know how they said it when they were, back then, because we're far removed from that. But nevertheless, this is how it's been given to us to understand in this tongue that we speak here and now. So let's continue.
These terms did not denote a specific group of people or language. The biblical story of Exodus, detailing the Hebrews' escape from Egyptian slavery, lacks concrete historical evidence.
Yeah, this story, this is fiction that you're showing us here. This is not an exodus of the children of Israel. I don't know what the heck this will be. This is a cartoon. This is an entertainment. That's all this is. It's not real. This is not what the Exodus looked like. These people, see, this is the problem. He's thinking that he don't understand. Whoever is running this and putting these videos together, well, this particular video, let me say that. First of all, thank you again. We appreciate the great work that you're doing to put these videos together. But your understanding is off as it pertains to who you are. You're not a Canaanite. You're not an Egyptian. You're not a what's the name of it? Ethiopia. What's the proper word for Ethiopia?
Oh, Cushite.
Cush. That's what I'm trying to say. You're not Cush, and you're not Put. You don't descend from any of those. You descend 9 times out of 10. I have to see you to know for sure, but I'm pretty sure that you descend from the 12 tribes much as we do. You went through everything that we went through. You dealt with everything that we've dealt with. You've been separated from your understanding, from your customs, from your language, from your culture, from all of that, much as we have. And that's how we understand who it is that we are, because of the curses. The scripture says these curses will be on you for a sign and a wonder. How in the world are you able to do the things that you are able to do, even though you got these curses on you? Because the Most High has still been with us in some shape, form, or fashion. He said, even in the lands where I scattered them, I will be a little sanctuary unto them. So this is not the Exodus. The first Exodus is not going to be the second Exodus. It's going to look vastly different than this. Caucasian people don't multiply like this. They about done now because they don't multiply. If you notice in the text, Japheth had the most children, and he's got the least to show for it. The least children-wise to show for it. I mean, don't get me wrong, they got a lot because it's a lot of them, but when it came to when you got into that chapter 11, you'll see some multiplication happen. That's how Hebrews do. That's what we do. So let's continue.
Cheikh Anta Diop offers a potential explanation in his work, Nations Negres et Culture. He suggests that the biblical figure of Moses may correspond to a period around 1400 BC, during the reign of Pharaoh Akhenaten. Akhenaten's monotheistic reforms aimed at unifying Egypt's empire may have influenced Moses, who is portrayed as passionately embracing monotheism within his community. Now, it's important to note that this context is set during the 18th dynasty, a time of significant Egyptian power and expansion under Pharaoh Thutmose III.
Now, Slaki, real quick, I gotta say, I keep interrupting. We are an hour into this video. We 10 minutes into the video, 11 minutes, almost 12 minutes into the video. But I keep interrupting because information keeps coming out. You have to understand, and I'm talking directly to the maker of the video here. You have to understand that when Pharaoh's daughter brought Moses to Pharaoh, she presented to him as if this was her son, who she bore. There's no way in the earth that she could have brought a white boy to Pharaoh and say, this is my son who I born. There were no Caucasians in this area at this time. They had not yet invaded. Yeah, they had not yet invaded. This part of the world was Negro, was black, so-called black people, made up of Hamitic and Shemitic people, mostly Hamitic, because we were on the rise, and the other Shemites were off doing their own thing. In fact, he left them in Mesopotamia. The Syrians and Laban and all of those guys, we read about all of them. We just read all of that again, just here recently. And that's who those people were. So you don't be fooled by the depictions that you see, because these depictions are false. And you've covered that. You've covered how the reality was that the people in the scripts were black people. You talked about that in the Russian Icons video. So I'm hoping you're tying these together and it's making sense to you, because this video is hurtful. Yeah, it's harmful. You got anything on that? I'm just talking a lot.
A lot. I don't.
Okay, no sweat. Let's continue.
During this era, Egypt became a hub for people from its conquered territories who came for work, settlement, or tribute. Diop specifically situates this transformative period during Akhenaten's reign, proposing that the biblical Exodus narrative may have been inspired by the historical interactions and religious reforms of that time. Akhenaten revolutionized Egyptian religious practices by ending the worship of various deities like Osiris, Isis, Hathor, and Anubis, who had traditionally been worshipped through priestly mediation. Instead, he established the monotheistic worship of Aten, the sun disk, as the sole divine entity, with himself as the exclusive worshiper. With that, Akhenaten stands as a singular figure in history, often likened to the first prophet. His radical religious reforms centralized worship around one deity. Unfortunately, Egyptologists and Western scholars, lacking a deep understanding of African culture and spirituality, have misinterpreted these divine manifestations as separate gods. The Bible portrays the Hebrew conquest of Palestine, the Promised Land, as a violent takeover, reminiscent of the brutal tactics employed by the Hyksos and Habiru. Scholars have drawn comparisons between these ancient conquerors and the biblical Hebrews, particularly in their treatment of the Canaanites.
Okay. All right. Let's jump to let's go back to the book. And let's go to one of my favorites, real quick here. I'm gonna read this just because I love it so much. And so during this time, the children of Israel had already began taking areas. Joshua had led us into taking Ai, the city of Ai, from the Canaanites, and some other lands, some other areas in his land. Now Joshua had passed away, and now we were moving on our own. So not on our own as in by ourselves, on our own without Joshua. Now we were dealing with the Most High through the seers. Verse 1, this is the book of Judges, chapter 1 and verse 1. It says, now after the death of Joshua, it came to pass that the children of Israel asked Yahuwah, saying, who shall go up first against the Canaanites to fight against them? And Yahuwah said, Yehudah shall go. Behold, I have delivered the land into his hand. And Yehudah said unto Simeon his brother, come with me in my lot, and I will fight against the Canaanites, and I likewise will go with you in your lot. So Simeon went with him. And Yehudah went up, and Yahuwah delivered the Canaanites and the Perizzites into their hand. And they slew them in Bezek, 10,000 men. This is not a myth. This is not some sort of fairy tale. This is historical. The Canaanites got their behinds whooped by the children of Israel. In this case, the Yahudim and the Simeonites. They went in there and took this land with force. They found Adam Bezek in Bezek. So this cat named this land, this area by according to his name. And they fought against him. And they slew the Canaanites and the Perizzites. But Adam Bezek fled. But they pursued after him and caught him and cut off his thumbs and his great toes. Why did they cut off his thumbs and his great toes? Because he was a wicked man who did a lot of wicked things. And he said, and Adam Bezek said, 60, that's 60, and 10 kings having their thumbs and great toes cut off. So 70 kings he had dealt with gathered meat under his table. So they sat at his table and ate with him. And this is how he dealt with them. So now he gets it back. And the Most High used the Israelites, specifically the children of Yehudah and Simeon, to go in here and do this to this fellow. So they did that to him. They brought him to Jerusalem, the land, the area that would be known as Jerusalem, and there he died. So it's not some kind of a fairy tale that these things happen. These things absolutely happen. And I was trying to see where it talked about they set the city on fire. I mean, these boys came here wrecking shop. And these weren't some Caucasians. This wasn't some whites coming in over black land. These were Israelites, descendants of Eber, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the descendants of the patriarchs, all the way past Moshe, even past Joshua, who had just passed away. And now the Most High was yet fulfilling his promise to deliver them their land. So I don't know where you're getting this information from, but it is off. It is way, way off. If you want to know about the children of Israel, if you want to know about the Hebrews, the Yahudim, you're going to find that information in the text. And I know you probably under the ideology that this is somehow a white man's book. I don't understand how you think that when you understand the Russian icons, but you need to holler at brothers, man, so we can put you straight. Because this stuff here is sad. Neither the Canaanites nor the Israelites look like this. These are false depictions, false completely. So You got anything on that, Art?
No, I don't.
Okay, let's continue.
The Bible outlines a complete extermination of the Canaanites to facilitate Israelite settlement, as detailed in the book of Joshua. However, historical evidence suggests a more complex and gradual process of Semitic migration and assimilation into Canaanite society. Specifically, historical evidence such as the Merneptah Stele from 1207 BC reveals that Egypt maintained control over Canaan well into the period following the 18th dynasty, contradicting the timeline of an immediate post-Exodus conquest. The Semites gradually integrated into Canaanite society, adopting their language and culture. Over time, these Semitic tongues evolved into what we now recognize as Semitic languages. This gradual blending and subsequent independence led to the formation of the kingdoms of Judah and Israel around 1000 BCE. These political entities emerged within a broader context of regional change, marked by the decline of powerful empires like Egypt and the rise of new groups, such as the Sea Peoples, which reshaped the ancient Near East. Judaism and its foundational texts arose in response to a period of political conflict, serving to unify a people with shared roots, beliefs, and laws. The Assyrian and Babylonian empires, capitalizing on the weakened Pharaonic Empire, conquered the Canaanite region, including the Semitic kingdoms of Israel and Judah in 722 BC and 587 BC, respectively. This led to the forced exile of the Semitic people, giving rise to the legend of the lost tribes of Israel. Upon their eventual return to Canaan, these communities endeavored to rebuild their nations and cultural identity. The establishment of Judaism as a unifying faith and the subsequent creation of sacred scriptures were instrumental in the rebuilding of the nation.
Yeah, and the king of the Pharaoh of Mizraim at that time said, "You left black and you came back white, so there will never be peace here."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't understand. I don't understand where he's coming from here. Like I'm at a loss because the way he talks, he speaks at times like he really knows the truth, but this is befuddling me here. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that, but let's continue. This video has been long enough. You got anything on that before I continue?
No,
Let's go.
The Hebrew Bible, or Tanakh, compiled during this period, served as a cornerstone of the people's history, laws, and religious tenets. By introducing concepts like the chosen people and the people of God, these texts fostered a strong sense of national identity. Ezra, a revered scribe, is often credited with much of the biblical compilation. Upon returning from exile, the community began to identify as Jews. Originally, Jew referred to inhabitants of Judea, a region of Canaan. While the Canaanites were the earliest settlers, it was the subsequent influx of Semitic populations that led to the Jewish identity. A history marked by nomadic life and foreign domination fostered the concept of a Messiah, a leader who would establish a powerful, independent nation.
Okay, let me say this. He talked about they calling themselves Jews. So the term Jew is a term that came from those people that are on that land now. That's not what our ancient ancestors called themselves. They would have called themselves either Yahudim or Yahwadim. It would have been something in that vicinity, in that area, not Jews. So the reason that they call themselves Yahudim or Yehudim or Yahwadim is because they were descendant of the patriarch Yehuda. Yehuda means to praise the Most High. That's where the term comes from. So it wasn't just a term that they would have adopted because they thought it sounded good. No. And they would have never called themselves Jews because Jew is not even a term in Hebrew. It's not a Hebrew term. That's a I want to say an English term. I may be mistaken, but that comes from the Japhetic lines of speaking, not the Shemitic lines. That's not a Shemitic term. There's no J.
What
letter J?
Okay, you said Yafet is English.
Well, I was saying Jew is an English term.
Okay, yeah, come.
Because we're talking about that they going off of Judah, the English term Judah, but Judah is not what his name would have been. His name would have been Yehuda or Yahawada, something in that area, something along that line. That's how they would have spoken. They would have spoken, yeah, we the Jews. No, they wouldn't have said that. It would have been like Ben Yehuda or Ben Yahawada. That's how they would have said. That's how they spoke. You have to understand the language. And to think that the Hebrew is not a people or a language, I mean, come on, brother. That's crazy. The scripture mentioned many times the conversation they had in the Israelite or the Hebrew or the Yahudim tongue. Specifically, what was the Yahudim tongue? They spoke the language of their fathers. What language did Abraham speak? He was from Eber. Was he speaking what was the other cat name? Aramaic? No. Aramaic comes from the other fella.
Aram.
Yeah, that's it. Aram. That's right. I told Arabah. Look, I had it wrong in my mind, but yeah, Aram. So no, I mean, even though that's another Shemitic language, that it's different because they went one direction. The children of Hebrew went a different direction. So when the time came, they were speaking similar but different. So yeah, this video way too long, but I'm talking way too much. Well, I'm trying to bring out highlight points that is talking about. Yeah.
I mean, we gotta if you didn't bring these things out, we would be doing a disservice. It wouldn't be complete truth, you know.
Indeed, Aki. Indeed. So everybody, all praises. Let's continue.
Biblical narratives of kingdoms under David and Solomon exemplify this aspiration. However, the reality was a series of small, vulnerable states, ultimately succumbing to Babylonian, Persian, Greek, and Roman rule. The biblical promise of a divinely granted independent homeland stands in contrast to the Jews' historical reality of coexistence with diverse peoples and recurrent conquest.
Oh my goodness. See, he says that as if it's happenstance. It just so happened that the people of Israel were not able to sustain themselves because they're victims to all these other nations. No. It just so happened that we tried to follow after these nations, and the Most High turned these nations on us to destroy us, to show us that without him, we were nothing. That's the lesson that we've gotten. That's why here in the land of our captivity, we still serve the power of our fathers, because we understand that without him, we're nothing. That's why we keep his laws, his statutes, his commandments, and his judgments. We can't keep his judgments in this land because this is a wicked land. But that's why we keep these things. That's why we go contrary to the way that the world has set forth, because we are against that. We are against them because we serve the power of our fathers, the power that proclaimed himself to be ours, that put us with him based on the covenant that he made with our father. I wish this guy could holler at me, man. I want to talk to him for real, because this video is disturbing. And they usually do good work, but this is something else.
Yeah, this is taking a few steps backwards in the wrong direction.
Wrong direction, definitely. I mean, it's a lot. I've never had to pick one of their videos apart like this. I mean, this They came right into our wheelhouse. And they dropped this morning. I think they put this out this morning or yesterday evening or something. I don't know. But yeah, let's continue. Let's finish this thing out here.
The Hebrew Bible itself chronicles this ongoing struggle, from the epic tale of David and Goliath to countless other conflicts. While biblical narratives evoke images of powerful Jewish kingdoms under David and Solomon, historical evidence suggests a more complex reality. These grand monarchies were often idealized representations of a desired national destiny rather than accurate historical accounts. Historical records, including biblical accounts such as the stories of Abraham and Hagar and Joseph, reveal extensive interactions between Semitic nomads and African populations like the Canaanites and Egyptians.
He's talking like he's a Canaanite or an Egyptian. I mean, that's really his standpoint. He's really speaking like that. Like that's crazy. I mean, you come from, I don't know. You could be honestly, because man, your spirit is to them immensely, and man, that's a terrible thing for me. To me, I mean, I see that as a terrible thing because sound to me like you against the Israelites, and you can't get in the kingdom being against the children. And nobody gonna let you in their house and you against their children. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like your children, but can I come in? No. So, I don't know. Let's continue.
Over time, these exchanges resulted in cultural and even genetic intermingling. Despite this, these Semitic groups preserved a strong sense of Mesopotamian identity, distinguishing themselves from their African neighbors. Conversely, African societies viewed these Semites as outsiders with Asian origins. The physical appearance of Semitic peoples evolved over time through interactions with Canaanites, Egyptians, and subsequent invasions by lighter-skinned groups like the Sea Peoples, Philistines, and Greco-Romans. These foreign populations arrived during periods of decline for Canaanite and Egyptian civilizations. The resulting intermingling gradually shifted the physical attributes of the Semitic population towards lighter skin tones, a characteristic more prevalent among their modern descendants. Meanwhile, the Jewish identity of Ethiopian Jews, or Falashas, remains a subject of scholarly debate. Ethiopia's connection to Judaism is often linked to the legendary tale of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba.
Okay. All right. Let's deal with that real quick. Let's go to is it Kings, I believe 1 Kings chapter number 10, if I remember correctly. Yeah, here it is. All right. We're not going to read all of this. I want to get to the point here. So I want to show once and for all who these people, where this woman was from. This woman was not from Cush. She was not a Cushite. So all of this conversation about King Solomon and Queen of Sheba having children, having a child, and her taking this child back home and it being a part of heir to the dynasty of Solomon. Nah. Let me find what I'm looking for. Maybe. And the key is also 3 pillars in the house, verse 12. So this is the book of 1 Kings chapter 10. And let me see. Verse 13. I'm going to start at verse 13. It says, and King Solomon gave unto the Queen of Sheba all her desire, whatsoever she asked, besides that which Solomon gave her of his royal bounty. So she returned unto her own country in her service. I think that's not what I'm looking for. Hold on. Oh, no, I may be wrong. I think that's right. I think that's right. Verse 14. Now the weight of gold that came to Solomon over 1 year was 606 talents of gold. Now, you tally that up, that is 666 of talents of gold that this woman sent Solomon over a year. She sent him 666 talents of gold over that year. Verse 15. Besides that, he had the merchant men and the traffic of spices, spice merchants of all the kings of Arabia and the governors of the country. So, as I understand it, and I'm open to correction. If anybody watches this video and wants to say Aki wrong, that's incorrect. I'm open to correction. But as I understand it, the Queen of Sheba was from Arabia. In fact, if we jump to the Strongs and go 1 Kings chapter 10, and we get down to verse, we go verse 1. Queen of Sheba. Let's look at that. Sheba. I may be mistaken about that part of it, but let's see. 7 or an oath, son of Yoktan, a descendant of Seth, son of, no, that's not right. Grandson of Cush, descendant of Ham, son of, okay. Yeah.
So definition D. Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Yeah.
So do you have a map of Arabia?
I can go grab it. Let's grab it. Let's get it real quick.
Yeah. So, what I want to show in this map. So Arabia in antiquity was broken up into 2 separate locations, or two distinct areas. What it was called. So, all right. So northern Arabia, like, it's called Arabia Deserte. So, and that translates into Arabia, the desert, right?
Okay.
Then you have if you go down to the below, like scroll down, to the south part of Arabia, where she came from. So today this would be Yemen, Oman, United Arab Emirates. But all of this area in antiquity, it was called Arabia Felix, and that meant Arabia happy, or Arabia opposite of desert. So you had so many different oases, so many different places to raise livestock. Now in antiquity, all of this area, Arabia Felix, was controlled by the Cushites.
Oh, was it?
It was, yeah. So like the Cushite Empire at one point, it was on Saudi Arabia soil, and it was on Akebulan soil, right there together, like those 2 empires. And the part where she came from, Sheba, was more affluent because they had more trade going on in that area. So Sheba would have been a more affluent area than what we think of as Cush in Akebulan.
Okay.
So the Cushites controlled Arabia for thousands of years.
Wow. Okay. I'm mistaken then, maybe, because and the reason I say maybe not maybe, but yeah, the reason I say maybe is because I'm getting that from this text here, where this talks about all the kings of Arabia, which it doesn't call them Arabs. It says the kings of Arabia. So yeah, you could be a Cushite king in Arabia, and but even that though, when you come back up to where we just read, that 666 is attributed to them here, and also where you'll find that is in let me jump back. Let me jump back here. Also, you'll find that attributed to the in the New Testament. That's attributed to them there as well. Through the Brit Hadashah. Hello, let me put this up here. When you go to this, I don't know if it breaks it down the same. Let me take a look at that. Matter of fact, was that 620 times Kings Amon and Decide and Roy. Or was I just reading that? Oh, here it is. Yeah. So I was gonna see if this gave us. I don't think it does, because it's not like one word. It breaks it into various. But that's the only. It's here, and you see that, and then you see it in Yehukanan, the Revelator. Those are the only two places we really that I can recall that we see this. That's 666. So it is believed now, brothers that I've studied with and understand say that the end time, the very end time, will be the rise of the Arab population. And the Arab population will control. That's why you're going to see so many beheadings, because that's been a part of their custom from antiquity. Because of that, because of those things. So I may be mistaken, and I'm open to correction on that. But so those were Cushites though, but that makes sense, because when I jumped over here, I took that to be the kings of Arabia. I took that to be Arabians. But if that was full of Cushites at that time, then that would make sense, especially if they were running Cush. So yeah.
And I want to say, when we covered Bereshit 2 years ago, and we did the in-depth study on each one of these sons of Ham and where they located at. Remember, we were reading about all of these Hamitic people being in Arabia. We was like, wow, you know what I'm saying? Like, we was like, wow. And I forget exactly how we went about doing that, but we were able to locate where each one of these people went to, and we saw where a bunch of Hamitic people were in Arabia.
Yeah, I remember us digging into that, and we got pretty deep. Yeah, we got real deep, matter of fact. And we were able to figure out, where these people were going, and various places. So one place they did not go was Turkey, but a lot of Shemitic people did end up in Turkey, as well as
I want to say it was more. Yeah, I want to say it was more Yafet in Turkey than Sham.
Yeah. All right. Praise to the Abba. It's so I may have been incorrect about that. That may be that would be definitely an inaccurate depiction of her if that was the case, because if she is Shemitic. Oh, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. And here's what's inconsistent with the whole Sheba and Shlomo having a child. The scriptures document everything else. So why would they have left that out?
Right. Exactly. Well, they say that he didn't even know about it because, you know, she left and, you know, she went back to her land. But obviously she was sending him stuff. You know what I'm saying? She sent him all this gold, but she didn't say, yeah, we having a baby. So I guess I don't know if she wanted the baby to herself.
And they will even go as far as to say that Shlomo, once he found out that he had a son in Cush, is that he sent the Ark of the Covenant with her son.
I heard that.
And we don't read that. We don't read that in scripture.
He couldn't have sent the Ark of the Covenant because who in the world would do that after his father had a man die trying to save it? Trying to save it from hitting the ground. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gonna play with the Ark after that? Who gonna touch that? Come on, bro. Come on, bro.
Right.
Yeah, they need to come on with that.
And
yeah,
let's and it doesn't line up. Oh, Salakia, it doesn't line up with what we read in the Apocrypha, speaking about Yirmiyahu taking the Ark of the Covenant into Mizraim.
Right, exactly. Yeah, because didn't he? I'm trying to remember. Didn't he hide it from
Indeed.
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah, we covered that. We covered all of it. And now we in round 2, so we'll get more this time than hopefully we did last time. So, but let's finish this one on out here. So maybe she probably was Christian. But let's continue.
Though historical evidence for a romantic relationship between the two is lacking. Theories about the origins of Ethiopian Jews vary. Some scholars propose a lineage tracing back to ancient Egyptians who followed the monotheistic worship of Aten, suggesting a link to early Judaism. Others argue for a later conversion to Judaism. Genetic studies, however, indicate a primarily Ethiopian ancestry. While cultural exchange and religious influences have shaped societies worldwide, the core identity of African communities, including their monotheistic beliefs centered on Imana, remains deeply rooted in the continent. With all of these said, the pervasive Western stereotype of ancient Africans as mere idol worshippers is inaccurate. A more nuanced understanding reveals quite a sophisticated theological framework. The intricate cosmos, teeming with life, reflects the divine architect's boundless creativity and multifaceted nature. This divine complexity is expressed through various roles: the supreme creator, the cosmic ruler, the nurturing parent, the eternal sovereign, the embodiment of power, love, truth, and justice. These manifestations, often understood as deities, are not separate entities, but facets of a single supreme being. This concept of a divine being with both masculine and feminine aspects is evident in the depiction of deities like Osiris and Isis. Rather than direct worship of an unknowable supreme being, ancient Africans honored these divine manifestations through rituals and temples. Truly, this practice reflects a profound understanding of the divine as a multifaceted, incomprehensible force. The term Amun, meaning the hidden one, encapsulates this concept of a supreme, unknowable deity whose essence is revealed through its various manifestations. Now, as we peel back the layers of history, we uncover a story rich with complexity and wonder, one that challenges us to rethink what we truly know about our shared past. The cradle of civilization and the essence of monotheism are deeply intertwined with African cultures and traditions. And from these ancient roots, the undeniable presence of Blackness within the Bible emerges as a radiant, undeniable truth. Thank you for joining us on this journey through.
All right, finally made it to the end of that video. That was the longest review. Look, we hour and 45 minutes and a 21-minute video. So lucky. I never planned on doing that. I've never planned on that being the case. But final thoughts on that particular video. I talked about.
This was I'm glad we covered it. It definitely had some inconsistencies. And you corrected it. You called it out. We've enjoyed the videos that they've put out thus far. You can see that they're on a journey as well. You know what I mean? Are they? Well, let me before I say that, is Kenaniah and Ezekiah Yahoo, are they scholars and do they know it all? Like, absolutely not. You know what I mean? Like, we both had a starting point, and you know, it's gotten us to where we're at now. These brothers over at Black Journals, they have their own starting point, you know. And you know, correction is love. You know what I mean? Like, this is not, you know, anything coming down hard on them. Y'all are ignorant, anything like that. But no, we just, like, we've had a chance to study in this subject. You know what I mean? So it would be wrong for us not to say something, you know. But all praise to the Most High. I enjoyed this video, you know.
Hallelujah. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Definitely good work. Yeah, definitely good work. And you know, they put out what they had, and I can't be mad at that. So we're gonna shift gears to the next video. Now, this is actually a group that we've not reviewed before, but this is the Eurobros. I want to say it's Eurobros. You see that? You see that name right here?
Let me see.
Bring it up a little bit.
Eurobos, Khan.
The Eurobros. Yeah, that's a Bantu people.
Well, it's Yar Bros, which I think that is a Yarborough. I was thinking, like, when you said it, I was thinking about the tribe there in Nigeria, the Yoruba, but it's spelled different than how they spell Yoruba.
Okay. Well,
yeah,
interesting.
I believe that might be short for their last name or something like that. Yarborough.
Like Yarborough. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That man, you know what? Let's click on it. Let's go into their channel and see what they got, what they talk about. The Eurobos travel lifestyle bring authentic, realistic, global travel worldwide, different 3 to 12 months. All right. So they have Instagram, Facebook, Patreon, and all right. Okay. No sweat. All right. Well, let's continue here. Let's get into that video.
What if I told you?
What if I told you?
What if I told you
That there are a group of Black Indians
that created the largest haven
in
the U.S. for escaped slaves?
in the 1700s? What if I told you?
What if I told you that there was a group of Black Indians that led the largest slave revolt in U.S. history?
What if I told you that there were a group of Blacks in the United States
That forced their own emancipation?
before the Civil War?
What if I told you
What if I told you that there were a group of Black Indians
that led a mass exodus along the Trail of Tears and then right out of the United States?
What if I told you?
What if I told you
What if I told you that this is the true story of the Black Seminoles, and you've likely never heard it before?
I never learned about them and they were never in my history books?
This is a story about betrayal, distrust, backstabbing, and about a people that have been, for some reason, lost to history. This is about the Black Seminoles, the Black Indians,
and their long, remarkable journey to freedom.
Can't do this no more, Abigail. I won't.
What do you mean, Abraham? You're scaring me.
We've been slaves long enough now. I won't spend another day under the whip of these crackers.
Escape? Where can we go? You know they'll kill us. They'll kill us dead.
Florida. I heard them say it's free there. It's a chance, Abigail.
Florida? It's so far, Abraham, and it's dangerous.
I'll kill anybody that gets in our way. Staying here is death. We deserve better. You deserve better. We deserve a life free of these crackers.
Live free or die trying.
Live free, die trying.
Them, along with several other enslaved Africans, made their way down to Spanish Florida. They fought slavers, bounty hunters, and many were recaptured and lost their lives along the way. But finally, several made it to freedom, at least for a while, in the swamplands of Spanish Florida.
During the same time period, there were several civilized indigenous populations scattered across these lands.
The term civilized tribes was applied to the major Native American tribes that took the bad medicine of the white man. They were classified as civilized because they had adopted the attributes of European culture, becoming Christians, sending their children off to re-education institutions, market participation, intermarriage with white Americans, and,
wait for it,
chattel slavery practices, including the purchase of enslaved Africans. Little did they know that the cotton reservations that they had would become cotton plantations after they were stolen and seized by the same white people they were emulating.
Hey guys, sorry for the shaky video in advance, but we are on our way to a town called Mosquis, and this is another town here in Mexico. But this town is the closest town we could get to Nacimientos, which is the town that a tribe, actually the Seminoles from the USA, kind of came over here to seek refuge during times of slavery. They are warrior people. They are a fierce people. There are some survivors, and there's not a whole lot of them there. So we're hoping that we're able to make some contact.
We've been exploring stories of how Africans made it here, and it's a variety of ways, but this community that we're going to is a completely different story and history of how they made it here.
So we're just praying for some favor as we go, so we can show you guys, and so we can learn about the real deal here in Mexico and Black people and their migration here. So see y'all there.
Yes, my name is Wendy Goodlow. I am a Black Seminole, and more specifically, I'm a descendant of the Seminole Negro Indian Scouts, which were the group of men that joined the military and fought for the military in the U.S. from 1870 to 1914. So I grew up in Bracketville around that history.
We had not found out about the Black Underground Railroad that led into Mexico. We had never heard about that one.
Yeah, not many people have.
But whoa, what you know about this Underground Railroad? What's going on? Black indigenous people moving to Mexico. What is this?
I know, it's a lot. That's what I always tell you. It's a lot of story. The way that our elders began the story was that in the late 1600s, around 1680s into the early 1690s, there were what would become known as the Gullas, but they were enslaved Africans living in the Low Country who took it upon themselves to seek their own freedom. So instead of going north, they went south into Florida because Florida at that time was a Spanish territory. So it was not part of the formation of the U.S. at that point. It was owned by the Spanish.
In 1687, 8 men, 2 women, and a nursing child escaped from Carolina to Spanish St. Augustine and requested baptism into the true faith. Florida's governor sheltered the runaways out of Christian obligation and refused to return them when an agent from Carolina came to reclaim them. The Slaves' Telegraph quickly reported this outcome, and soon other runaways began arriving in St. Augustine.
Have you heard?
Florida officials repeatedly solicited Spain for guidance, and finally, on November 7th, 1693, Charles II issued a royal proclamation,
giving liberty to all, the men as well as the women, so that by their example and by my liberty, others will do the same.
Jose was establishing freedom seekers who were making their way down from the Carolinas, escaping slavery. If they made it down to Spanish Florida, they could live free.
And once they got there, they found that there were already people there who were living free. There were formerly enslaved Africans. There were free Blacks who were living on the land.
At Nero's Town on the Swanee River. Here on the Apalachicola River, even before the one here at Prospect Bluff, you had a settlement near Ocheesee Bluff. They established a separate one where there were several hundred Maroon fighters. You had many settlements of free Blacks all through Florida, particularly, late 1700s, early 1800s.
There were also Native Americans. At the same time that was happening, there was the group of Creeks who lived just north of Florida. And because of moral differences, they splintered into the Upper Creeks and Lower Creeks. And the Upper Creeks decided that they wanted to break away and go down into Florida to get away from the Lower Creeks, who were taking on more European ways of life. And one of those was to begin chattel slavery. That's where the idea of the word Seminole comes from, is that some linguists believe that it is a Creek word or Muskogee word, and it's pronounced Shimonoli or Seminole. They believe it means run away, because these Creeks believed that part of their group was running away. And so it's also interesting that it fits for what would become the Black Seminoles, because they were essentially running away as well. They formed their own villages, but were interacting with the Seminoles, so they would become known as the Black Seminoles.
The African and indigenous people lived and worked closely together. And in time, they came to view themselves as a part of the same loosely organized tribe, cultivating a mutual respect of each other's cultures. The Africans adopted a lot of the Indian garb, and the Indians adopted African agriculture, music, and folklore. And they lived this way for over 100 years, raising generations of children in freedom. As Florida continued to be a haven for Black freedom, this didn't set too well with antebellum Georgia. They shared a border, and contentions were high. At this point, there was a lot of retaliation going on. The U.S. military launched raids, tried to steal slaves, steal cattle, and encroach on this Spanish land.
The United States felt that the existence of this community served as something of a beacon of freedom for slaves from Georgia and the Carolinas, or even the Creek Nation, to slip away from bondage and come down here seeking freedom in Florida.
In the spring of 1818, the U.S. government launched their attack.
As soon as the U.S. military was dispatched at the orders of Andrew $20 Jackson, this marked the beginning of the First Seminole War.
The 1818 Battle of Suwannee is again recorded by the U.S. military. The people referred to as Black warriors held off the U.S. troops.
The Seminoles, known as the Red Sticks in that area, and the Black Seminoles held their ground and held up their contract with the Spanish to defend the border.
They ultimately fell back, and the village was destroyed. Fell back to was the Manatee River, Tampa Bay, Angola.
At the conclusion of the First Seminole War, the Spanish sold Florida to the Americans for $5 million. This drove the Seminoles and the Black Seminoles deeper into Central Florida, deeper into the Everglades. It was here that the two bands grew closer, and it was also here that birthed two legendary leaders, Osceola for the Seminoles and John Horse, aka Abraham, to lead the Black Seminoles.
So the First Seminole War began between 1816 and 1870 when General Andrew Jackson went in and started a war.
I read somewhere that he was trying to recapture Black formerly enslaved. They weren't even formerly enslaved at this period. They were never even
They were generations removed. Yeah, they were generations removed. And Andrew Jackson, he was the only president who ever ran on the idea of committing genocide. So he promised that he would wipe out, all Native Americans and return formerly enslaved Africans to their owners.
Andrew $20 Jackson was POTUS number 7. This wealthy Tennessee enslaved, known to be the poor white man's champion, with a base known for their riots and lynching, a presidency full of scandal, he would be best known for his deep hatred of Black people and Indians.
Wow. Well, I don't want not a nail, not a 20 with Jackson's face on it. They were talking about putting Harriet Tubman's face on the 20, and they need to come on with those, because I didn't know I didn't know he was that much of a devil. He was so against our people, and I'm carrying around this devil in my pocket, in my wallet.
God.
He should be under my shoe rather than in my pocket, in my wallet.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness, I didn't know that. I did not know that. Wow. He promised to destroy the Indians and return our people back to what? And they what?
Yeah.
I did not know that. That's news to me. That is indeed news to me. So wow, let's continue. That's crazy. That's crazy. I would have never thought that any president would have ran on that. But well, you know, our people wasn't voting during that time, I guess. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Let's continue.
Promising to deal with the bank, restructure the government, and deal with the nagging Indian problem holding the country back.
The Indian problem. This was the name given to indigenous Americans just living their life on their land, but land that the colonial settlers wanted. They wanted to take their land, their joy, their happiness, but especially that land.
There's almost a mythology about this, that somehow when the Pilgrims arrived, they were dragging land behind them. There was no land brought here. The land here was Native nations. And this is what the United States needed. It's what it wanted. They wanted all of it. They wanted everything.
Between 1830 and 1850, about 100,000 Native Americans were evicted at gunpoint from their ancestral homelands. They were escorted by the United States military to designated Indian territory in present-day Oklahoma. The relocation, known as the Trail of Tears, was the result of genocidal legislation called the Indian Removal Act of 1830, signed into law by President Andrew Jackson.
Hey, what's up, family? Hope you guys are enjoying this video. And if you are, please consider sharing this video. We found so many lies and unearthed so many interesting things that we never knew, and we're hoping that you found some new things as well. We want to share it with the world. So sharing this caring, and if you guys care, share this thing so we can let the community know what's
We're
going
sharing
on.
the mess out of this
And if
video.
you'd like to see more content just like this, consider joining our Patreon, where you get a window seat into our travels and stories about the diaspora.
All right, y'all, back to the video. Share this thing.
So the first Seminole War happens, and then by 1838 is when the second one starts. So there is a span of about 20 years between. And within this time, the Seminoles and Black Seminoles have only gotten closer. The Black Seminoles are highly militarized. And so when the war does begin, they are out there on the front line, so much so that General Jessup says, you know, this is not an Indian war, this is a Negro war, because they were at the front lines.
General Jessup wasn't wrong. It was a Black war. It was a Negro war. It was the largest Negro uprising the United States had ever seen. And it's in no history books anywhere. More than 300 enslaved individuals rose up against their plantations and came to join arms with the Black Seminoles to fight against the United States of America and for freedom.
After the defeat of the First Seminole War, Andrew Jackson went on to become President of the United States of America, and he signed the Indian Removal Act. At his signing of this act, they knew that a war was coming, and they prepared accordingly.
John Horse and his compatriots gathered the troops together. They went around to the local plantations all throughout Florida, rallying up the enslaved and telling them that they can get their freedom, and they listened. At his call, they all came to fight against the United States government. They fought tooth and nail with everything that they had and launched a 7-year war that cost the United States government more than they had ever spent and more than they would spend ever until the Vietnam War. They caused more casualties and more damage than any other slave rebellion in U.S. history. So why haven't you heard about it?
The reason that they fought so hard and were known for fighting was because for the Seminoles, they would just die. But for the Black Seminoles, they would be returned to slavery. So that was what they were fighting for and against. And so the thing was that they didn't just kill, they killed twice. You know, they wanted to make sure that their enemies were dead.
John Horse, being the excellent strategist and leader that he was, told the United States government that he would lay down his arms if and only if they would give them papers of emancipation for each and every one of his soldiers. And they agreed to this. So they put down their arms, and the Black Seminoles began their trek on the Trail of Tears, headed to modern-day Oklahoma. They lost lives as well, but I believe their disposition was a bit different from the other indigenous people that were on that trail. I believe that these Africans were looking forward to getting to that reserved place in modern day Oklahoma. I believe they saw it as a new start and a new life that awaited them. But when they got there, they found old demons. They found broken promises. And they found that Uncle Sam is the same dirty uncle that he's always been.
But of course, everything changed by the time they got to Oklahoma.
This reservation wasn't their happily ever after, nor was it the end of their story. At this reservation, the U.S. Attorney General, Nathan Clifford, announced that the U.S. government didn't even have the authority to grant their freedom in the first place. In other words, their emancipation was essentially revoked.
Y'all, we have made it out here to the remotest of the remote.
We are in El Nacimiento de los Negros.
Now, out here, these people are the people that never bow down. You guys, their history dates way back, from North Carolina down to Florida, from Florida to Oklahoma, and from Oklahoma walked all the way into Mexico, a 6-month hike.
And made it here to freedom in 1850.
The story goes a little something like this.
But for the Black Seminoles, they were threatened with being captured and returned to slavery because it was outlawed territory. And so there were slave catchers there who
anyone with African features were being kidnapped and sold off in the night.
So pretty quickly, John Horse started looking for a way out.
A group of Black Seminoles led by the Wildcats, who was like the chief of the Seminoles, and John Horse, who was essentially the chief of the Black Seminoles, made their way down to Mexico. Mexico had abolished slavery, and it was a dream of both John Horse and Wildcat to make it to freedom, to make it here to Mexico. They got here in 1850 and settled in this town in the state of Coahuila called El Nacimiento de los Negros.
My name is Corina Torralba Harrington. I was born in Nacimiento, Coahuila, Mexico, Comunidad Negros Mascogos, and I migrated to the United States when I was about 7 years old.
When they made it to Mexico, it was the land of milk and honey. They were greeted with open arms because Mexico had a problem. They had raiding parties. The Comanche and Apache tribes were raiding all along that Mexican border. Also, the Americans were encroaching, as they do, all along that border. So Mexico received them with open arms, as they did for every Black self-emancipating individual. But for these people, they gave arms, they gave weapons and land in the state of Coahuila, in a little city called Nacimiento. The Black Seminoles that settled in Mexico, particularly the ones that settled here in Nacimiento, were granted certain rights back in the 1850s for a particular set of reasons. They received land, they received supports from the government, and they received autonomy, which allowed them the ability to govern their own communities, have their own type of laws, as long as they assured the government that they would protect the border. At that time, the Apache tribes and Comanche tribes were raiding all along the border, and the United States was pretty much encroaching in the area, trying to get more and more land. And these guys settled here and ruthlessly defended the border. There are many recorded exploits of them chasing down Apache, Comanche, Americans, Texas Rangers. Their reputation did not even compare to what they really were. In fact, they defended that border so fiercely that after the Emancipation Proclamation, the United States military came knocking.
In 1870, the United States Army sent a message to the Black Seminoles chief, John Horse, inviting him to enlist with them to become Indian scouts and help them fight the hostile Native Americans. They accepted because they were promised repatriation, but they also believed that they would be granted land, food, provisions, and reimbursements for traveling costs. But there's one thing about promises made to the Black Seminoles from the US government. Not a single one was ever kept.
You know, the amazing thing to me is that Mexico is really the only country or government that honored their promise. So out of the British, the Spanish, the Americans, the Mexicans were the only ones.
Despite this, the Black Seminoles fought fiercely alongside the Buffalo Soldiers, and not a single member of the Black Seminole Indian Scouts was killed or seriously injured despite all of their fights with hostile Native Americans. They never failed a mission, and several members received the highest honor in the military. After their services were no longer needed, they were kicked off the fort from which they had served and eventually settled in Brackettville, Texas. So walking around the streets of El Nacimiento de los Negros, it's a very small community, a very tight-knit community, and very quiet. But walking through the streets, you see the signs of their history.
It's just really cool being here. This area it's Afro. This area is distinctively different. Again, we had to travel a long way from a very small town just to get here. It's remote, and you know why it's remote. Have you been back lately at all?
Yes, I go back every Juneteenth because of our Juneteenth celebration there. It is different. I was very surprised when I found out that we actually celebrate Juneteenth down there. When I started learning all the history, I was like, well, why do we celebrate it? You know, if our people freed themselves, you know, they liberated themselves. Right. It was that important to them. They decided to have that celebration. You know, we've always known that celebration as El Baile de los Negros, o El Día del Negro, o El 19. So
it's a day of honor. That's beautiful. Yeah. So it's in solidarity almost. It's
yes, like, exactly. I also have a Casa de la Cultura there, and I'm wearing my shirt today. And so I go back for that a lot too, and other projects that I'm working on there.
I never knew about any Black Seminoles coming over to Mexico. I never knew about it until maybe last year.
So our history starts in Africa. Our people were the people that would rather die than be enslaved. To just tell, you know, everything that our people did, because I just want those kids to know who our people were, the warriors that they were brave, what they did. I want them to know what kind of people are their people, they come from.
So many people believe it was only one way, and that's not the way, that's not even the real way it was. We didn't just sit down and take it. We didn't just come over here and say, okay, we're just gonna be slaves. Yep, that's what we'll do, you know? No, not hardly. So that is the main reason I'm telling the story, so people can get the real information, the honest information.
Like we have people that we know that are getting involved, you know, especially here in the United States, just being Native, you know, we're Native, we're not Black.
Yep.
So what all I have to say is to those people is, okay, you know, that's your story. This is my story. You know, if you're just Native, then you're not part of the Black Seminoles. That's not something that I'm making up. We cannot tell our story and take away our Blackness, our Africanness, our Negro, you know, whatever it is that you want to call yourself, we cannot tell our story taking that away.
Throughout this video, we have been diving into the cultural heritage and influences of the Black Mascojos, or the Black Seminoles. And it's so interesting because it's this mix of like American Indigenous, it's a mix of African, and now that they've been settled here in Mexico for a while, it's a mix of Mexican also. It's really interesting to dive into and reminded me of diving into my own culture and history. We recently took DNA tests with MyHeritage to kind of dive in and find out what we're made of. If you're interested in finding out your heritage and diving into your culture as well, check out MyHeritage. They are one of the top family history and DNA services out there, and it's a great way to know what you're made of.
All right, man, that was very interesting, very enlightening, and very insightful as well. We've covered some about the Seminoles, the Black Seminoles, you know, those people, and learned a little bit about the Creeks, as they were mentioned here. I had no idea that there were 300 of them that fought, and then they went to Mexico. I think this is my first time hearing about them going to Mexico. I don't know. Had you heard that one before?
Yeah, Con, we actually one of the videos we covered, one of the last videos we covered, they talked about how they had gone into Mexico and how they were able to really I'm trying to think who they were fighting against. So they went into Mexico. Yeah, but they were recruited during the Mexican-Spanish War, or I'm sorry, the Mexican-American War. They were recruited for, and they fought for America, I believe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they fought for America, and that I remember us covering that.
So this is actually a conflicting report then.
You said it's a conflict?
I mean, this report here, because this report says that they fought with the Mexicans
against America.
Yeah, he said they fought.
Okay.
She said they well, actually, let me backtrack. As I understood, they said that they defended Mexico from the some of these natives that were encroaching, the Apaches and so on and so forth. And yeah, so they defended those.
So,
go ahead.
Con, you remember we were talking about they became a lot of the Buffalo Soldiers were trackers. They got their tracking skills because they were Seminoles. Yeah, a lot of them, a lot of the Buffalo Soldiers were Seminole Indians, and we know today that just means it's another word for Negro, or an extension, a hybrid of the Negro race. They became Buffalo Soldiers. They also what was it? They fought. So, well, I digress. I was there. I was getting ready to land the plane, and I lost it just like that.
Yeah. So what she talked about here, what they talked about here, was because they went to Mexico. They were welcome in Mexico because they needed people to defend their border. So they defended their border against the Apaches that were trying to come in and some others. He said that they fought them and they didn't lose, nor was anyone seriously injured who fought with them. And they fought so well that the American military called them and said, "We want y'all to come and fight with us." And so they started fighting with them. And everything that they said that they promised, they faltered on. The only ones that kept the promise was the Mexican government. Everybody else, the Americans, the Spaniards, all of them faltered on their promises. So they have a history of false promises.
Indeed.
Yeah, and that's been they ongoing historical custom, even with people who have done well and done well for them, which is crazy. As if somebody do you well, you would think you would do them well in return, but not those devils. So, yeah, well, that was a very interesting video. A lot of good information brought forth. I really need to kind of hate I put those two together, especially on this super long video right here. This is over 2 hours long, but because I would love to put the Seminole videos together and have those on like one video, and whatever videos we can find. And there was another subject we said we were going to go about that we had just that was brand new to me. What was that? Like a couple of weeks ago, I remember.
Yeah, I believe so. Yep.
I can't remember what the subject was. It was something we covered, and I said I never heard about this. And then we got to looking, and it was more videos. that was talking about it. I can't remember what it was. It's been a couple weeks now.
Oh.
Yeah,
You know, that sounds familiar, but I'm trying to think what we were covering at the time.
Yeah, I think we were covering one thing, and then it led to that, and then it kind of got into. I said, "Man, we're going to have to look into this," and we looked, and there was some more videos on it, but I can't remember what it was. Sitting here now, but no sweat. We got time to work on that. But yeah, so like I said, very interesting video, very thought provoking and enlightening. And I would like to put these similar videos together. The Creeks, the Gullahs, and what was the other one? They're not realizing there were two sets of Creeks. Did they mention that before? And maybe they did, but that was a lot of this is new to me. I've not done a lot of historical study on Seminoles and so on and so forth. I knew a little bit about them, but I didn't know a lot of bit about them. So with each one of these videos, it's like, wow, a lot of information for myself because I had not gotten into them. And like he said, this is not found in any history books. And that is unequivocally correct because they didn't want us knowing about that. I would love to go back to my history teacher that was teaching us all about Greek mythology and all this other foolishness and ask her about this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, why we didn't learn this? Because it wasn't in the book. That's why.
Right.
So, God, yeah. But anything else before we close this out?
Nah, like you know, this was very informative. And you know, it does us well to remember these, you know, this part of history because it's the part of history that doesn't get told enough, you know. And in fact, you know, one could argue is that this is the history that is covered up oftentimes. But all praises to the Most High for revealing truth in these last days.
Oh, praises, hallelujah. Praises to the Abba. Indeed, he is magnificent in all of his doings and all of his teachings. And he found a way to get us information in on various topics. And it's he'll put the spirit on somebody they traveled far to get this information to bring it to us on YouTube. And praise to the Abba for that. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and close out here with the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter number 12 and verse number 13, as we always do right about this time. And book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12 and verse 13, let us to the conclusion of the whole matter, fear the Most High and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. It is so very important that we understand that in the conclusion of the whole matter, we are to fear the Most High and keep his commandments, because this is the whole duty of man. At the end of the day, when it is all said and done, all the dust is settled and all the smoke is cleared, we will be judged on whether we have feared the Most High and kept his commandments. Why? Because this is the entire reason that we are here. I am your Akazaki Yahoo, joined by my most esteemed Akinanaya, giving all praises, honor, and great esteem unto the Most High Power, Yahuwah Bahashem, Yahushua Hamashiach, and to the 12 tribes of Israel who are scattered to the four quarters of the earth. I say, Shalom wa Baruchim. That is peace and blessings. And I cannot wait to the day that the Most High brings us back together, and we are once again 12 tribes, one family, one nation, under the Most High Power, under one covenant, and back in our own land with a heart of flesh and no more a heart of stone. Until that day come, Shabbat Shalom, family.
Shabbat Shalom, Mr. Picard.
Okay.